Hey guys, Sean Bougie, surplusfundsriches.net, and today I'm going to talk about the NAR ruling, National Association of Realtors, and the impact that's going to have on home affordability. A lot of people are touting this as this is the answer. It's going to make homes more affordable because everything's now negotiable with buyer agents and all this, and realtors have been just scamming sellers and buyers and all this stuff. I completely disagree with that. A lot of you guys don't realize that I was a licensed real estate agent in 93, starting in 93. I still have a real estate firm. I will still list properties myself if we are in North Carolina and we're doing a flip there. I have not been in general brokerage since the early 2000s. Really haven't been doing anything there. Went into surplus funds because it made more sense for me. Plus, I was always a listing agent. I never really worked with buyers because to me that was kind of a nightmare. Too much filtering involved, making sure you had somebody that actually buy, making sure you had somebody that was going to be loyal, and you did put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. This new ruling is requiring a couple of weird things. From what I'm understanding, first of all, you're looking at taking out the commission paid to a buyer agent, taking that out of the MLS so that the buyer agents don't know what that is. Supposedly that makes it more fair. So this agent that's running around with people in their car and showing them the house, and also, by the way, providing some sense of security for the seller. There is a value to real estate agents because they're with the people in the home. They're allowing people into the home, but there's somebody that's responsible for their actions. All of that person should know what they're going to get paid. And yes, they should have the option of saying, I'm not going to show your property if you're paying 0.5% or 1% or whatever. They should have that option. You know what? I'm going to show properties where it makes sense to me, where I can make a buck. Plus, if they're now saying that the buyers have to pay the buyer agent commission, well, that buyer agent's going to go, wait a minute, I want to make 2%, let's say, right? Minimum. Well, if the seller's only willing to pay 1%, I'm not going to show that house because my buyer doesn't want to pay the difference, the other 1%. Now, if the seller's paying 2%, I'll do it. Now, here's the other point I want to make, though, and this is probably the strongest one I want to make. This is where people are saying, well, it's going to make houses more affordable because since we're going to be able to negotiate on, by the way, we've always been able to negotiate. Always. The commissions. Always. This is all BS. But the whole point of this, according to the folks that have brought this lawsuit and won against National Association of Realtors, is this is going to make housing more affordable. No, it's not. The seller's not going to go, oh, you know what? I'm going to pay a lower commission, so I'm going to pass that savings on to the buyer. No, they're not. The seller's going to go, I'm paying a lower commission. I'm still going to sell the house for what I can get. I'm just going to pay less in commissions. The buyer's still going to pay the same price for the house. Plus, we are still in a historically low inventory period for housing right now, meaning the number of houses available for sale right now is extremely low. So it's still a seller's market. Anything under a 6-month supply, listen, anything under a 6-month supply in inventory is typically considered a seller's market. In most markets, we're 3 months or less worth of inventory. Now, have we been getting less than asking price, say 97, 98% versus 110? Yeah, but a lot of that is finally a lot of the part-time agents that didn't know what they were doing and that were weak and that would just tell the seller, we'll list it for whatever and see what's going to happen, they're out of the market. Now they're starting to finally get smart, the agents, and list it to where they're like, look, here's where we need to list it to get their attention. And here's where we're going to end up. And no, you're not going to get 110% of asking price, 105%. You still may get a bidding war, but you're going to get 97, 98, maybe 100%. But you're not going to get 105, 110% anymore. And that's partly because the part-time agents, the marginal agents out there, are starting to get out of the market because they can't make it work. And they're not selling their listings because they're weak. They can't be upfront with the seller, tell them what it's worth, what they're going to get, and price it accordingly. They're going in, they're so happy to get a listing that they're listing it wherever the seller wants, even if it's a ridiculous price, and then later it's getting reduced, probably by a different agent that lists it that is not weak and can tell them what they need to list it for and be very upfront with them, or walk away if they don't. But this whole idea that oh my God, now we can negotiate commissions. You could always negotiate commissions. It's always been the case. And no, the buyer agent isn't screwing the seller over by making money for bringing them a buyer. That's stupid. And no, the buyer is not going to be able to buy a house cheaper because there's lower commissions being paid to agents. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The seller is going to pocket the difference. The property is worth what the property is worth. Realtors have not created this inflated value. The market has spoken and created the values that are in place right now. The market, not the agents. And I'm not trying to defend agents, guys. I'm out. I'm not in general brokerage. I do surplus funds retrieval and I flip property. That's what I do. I'm not defending agents. I think there's a lot of, I gotta be honest, there's a lot of agents out there that are idiots. Okay? They're doing things that are destroying the reputation of the industry, and I get it, and I understand why there's some blowback right now on that, but the idea that you're no longer going to pay buyer agents, you might as well go to straight for sale by owner, which is, I got to tell you something, guys, dangerous. You don't know who's coming in the house. And what if you've moved out of the house already? You're going to give somebody the key to go in. Let me tell you what the North Carolina statute is regarding that. If you have given someone a key, this happened to one of my sellers because he decided he was going to rent it. Somebody came up and said, yeah, here it is. Here's a check for $10,000, first 3 months rent. It was a big house. Can I get the key? And the guy said, sure. Now I said, hey, because I was there for that. And I said, what are you doing? Wait till the check cashes. No. Well, then the check bounces. And he thought he could just kick them out. No, he had given them the key and access to the property. And even in North Carolina, where you can typically kick people out with the sheriff if they're trespassing, because he gave them the key, gave them access, it took him months to get them out. There is a value to having pre-vetted buyers. If the agent's any good, they're going to pre-vet them to make sure they can actually buy the property. Not necessarily do a background check. That's more of a rental type thing, right? But at least double check and make sure that they can actually buy a house, right? Make sure they're not a squatter in waiting. So, no, this lawsuit, everybody's going, oh my God, houses are going to be more affordable because we're going to F the realtors. No, the seller's going to keep the difference, okay? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Anyway, I'm dying to see how this shakes out, because it is really stupid. And I got to tell you guys something. When I list property, I typically go flat fee if I'm out of state, right? Because they'll put an MLS for me and all that stuff. I have no problem paying a buyer agent to bring that buyer in, because they're going to corral that buyer for me. In other words, they're going to pre-vet them, make sure that they actually can buy a house. They're also going to tell them, hey, this is what is expected through the process. You are expected to have the loan ready to go by this date. You're expected to put this much money down in due diligence. No, you can't get into the house before you close on it. No, you can't make repairs to the house before you close on it and cause a fire and burn the place down, okay? No, you can't. I'm not going to show you houses that you can't afford and waste a seller's time, okay? There's a lot of value to that. And I, as a flipper, have no problem paying buyer agents, because they are doing a service and they are watching the process. Yes, they work for the buyer, and yes, I'm actually paying somebody to be my negotiating enemy, if you want to call it that. I don't care. I can negotiate just fine, and these guys they're not going to waste their time putting a deal together that's not going to work. So you got to get it out of your head, guys. The realtors aren't the bad guys. They're not. Do I think the Realtor Association is the bad guy? Yes. I think that most of the MLSs out there require that people are a realtor, or they have to pay a non-realtor member fee, that's a racket. That's the real estate mafia. NAR, National Association of Realtors, needs to go away. They have too much power. And the other thing is, I haven't been a realtor for years. The reason I stopped being a realtor when I started flipping property is part of the ethics pledge with being a realtor. I have no problem being ethical. I do full disclosure, okay? I don't want to lose my license, and I'm going to be full disclosure. I don't care. I'm telling them exactly how it is. But as a realtor, I had to agree that if the buyer had an issue and took me to Realtor Court, let's call it, right, arbitration, that was binding on me. So it didn't matter if I did something wrong or right. What mattered was if somebody was litigious and they wanted to come after me after the fact or during the process, they wanted to come after me, I had to agree to go to arbitration, and they could win even if they weren't right. I'm not kidding you. So that's why I stopped being a realtor. I'm still a licensed broker in North Carolina, but I don't want people to be able to take me to Realtor Court arbitration for free. That's stupid to me because, look, we're becoming more and more of a litigious society, and the courts and arbitration and all that, they're not necessarily fair. When you go to arbitration, you're going to an arbitrator, you're going to a negotiator that handles that type of thing. Those people aren't necessarily versed in the law. It's getting crazy, guys. Just so you know, no. This lawsuit against the NAR, National Association of Realtors, is not going to result in more affordable housing. If anything, it's going to take a couple of years, but it will shake out, and we'll see that this will shake out, and it'll kind of come back to probably more of a transactional agent, kind of like Florida does, because that makes more sense to me, where you're making the realtors more policemen, where they're just making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. I hope this I hope this has kind of shed some light on the reality with this stuff. Don't listen to what you hear in the news about that. Those people have no idea what the heck they're talking about. Thanks.